where I knew I got into this was where it's where a sergeant says, as I translated it, trouble with peace has got no system to it, no methodology. What's the point of your armaments if they're lying around not doing any good? And that, to me, I was laughing as I wrote that. And the reason I was laughing was the idea that, as if the function of armaments is to do good. And that, I suppose that's the kind of paradox I was actually talking about earlier, that sense in Brecht. And when I wrote that sentence, that translation, I thought, right, we're in. The play is off. I'm going to enjoy this. We're dead centre here, and we have to follow Brecht and follow the people talking. And I suppose a sense of opportunity. At last I was with somebody that I almost said would understand what I was doing, but it's actually me that's trying to understand him. So that was, so I suppose a different, for instance, the recruiting officer play beginning, how can you expect me to drum up a company of squaddies in a dump like this? Now, I mean, that language is a language I would hear. So again, it's not heavily accented, it's not got like Scottish words in it or whatever particularly, but it is very much still a language pool, that I would hear. I mean, I ended up, I don't know how I would apply it, but again, you do manage to find some bloke who's neither constitutionally chesty nor got legs riddled with varicose veins. Again, constitutionally chesty, that took a lot of thinking about, because I think actually, I can't remember, but I think the original might be it's sort of pigeon-chested or something like that, and I hate that phrase, pigeon-chest. And I had to get something quite precise. So the word chesty was this idiomatic thing, but constitutionally, that came late. A word like block would be idiomatic, and then your legs riddled with varicose veins. Riddled is another word that, again, is from the language, that I've grown up in and I would hear, I mean, you would normally talk about, I always said plukes, which are spots, You talk about somebody's face riddled with plukes. But, so give him a few drinks down the pub to soften up and get him signed on. Job done. See, again, that's a more modern idiomatic phrase, job done. You'll get it in the telly and stuff. He's just stepping outside a sec. So again, a sec, that's almost, you'd hear that kind of almost a middle class common thing. But it's not, it's commonly used, but you'll hear some say it in the radio. To the lave. If that was going down, further down the class system, actually, that'd have been the lave. I don't know if that would be defined in time or not, that's the sort of thing, if I refer to the lavvy, my mother might say, oh, don't say that, you should say the toilet or something, but then, see, this is, I grew up in a very, very, very fluid language situation. Sometimes, I think I might have said to you, eh?
Yeah.
Aye. For instance, where I grew up, my parents, my dad was a railwayman, which was a steady job, right? Now, I've got that in another poem, a steady pay. That was my mother's ambition for her sons, was to get them a job with a steady pay. Because if you didn't get a job with a steady pay, it meant you were a labourer or something, which meant it wasn't something that would see you through till you retire. You'd be at the whim of the seasons or whatever. Whereas if you got a job in the post office, the railway was known also. Well, railways they're like that in India apparently just now. I've seen documentaries. There's families that are on the railway. They're sought after if you're in there. They've still got steam over there as well. They've still got the Industrial Revolution over there. That's where it's gone. That's where the child labourers have disappeared to. But you would be in so anyway, you'd be in a job for life, and they would tend to therefore also be the decent working class. Because if you were in a job for life and you held down a job, it meant you didn't drink. People who drank would lose their jobs. And I'm just thinking this at the moment. I mean, my mother certainly never said this, but I mean, I can realise that part of the kind of kinetics of it. There was an area at the bottom of the road, the Bundy. It was a mere lower class people. It was working class like us, but they were a different. Again, I know there was another thing. There was a point system. If you'd been in a house, see, it was a post-war housing scheme. As I recently found out as well, the drains built by German prisoners of war in 46 and 47. Anyway, so within the working class there's a range of language. What I was going to get to was my mother. I mean, I had a range of things they call my mother, and I'm not sure I ever settled comfortably in any of them, unfortunately. Well, I would first call her mummy, which was then sneered at by this guy. He wasn't a rough working class guy, and they called him mum. But I think we thought mum was middle class. That was what English folk called her mother. And then there was ma, which was a bit, no, that was a bit crude. Or there was ma, which was Irish. Again, I never had any problems there, but I realised, I mean, I'd sometimes joke that by the age of 4 you were a professor of psychosocial linguistics, that kind of style, But anyway, but that's just the fluidity of the language. But it's not just as if it's something peculiar to this wee character growing up or something. It was the nature of the language itself. This was the language that offered us differences. I've seen sometimes people writing about Svevo and Trieste, and it was also about Joyce, about the nature of a writer growing up in a bilingual system, or whatever, But fuck, they had it easy, So anyway, but that's the organ you play, That's the fucking organ you play, And that's why it's music, but there's also, of course, the actual multiplicity of vowels within the same, sometimes I've made jokingly, no, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, just another bit that was quite difficult was this business of the sandwich, and it took me a while to get that. You get something with a piece of bread and cheese, and they maybe get lard smeared on it. I can't mind what it was in the different translations, but eventually I just came up with lard. And I knew what lard was because that's what that was what you used to cook chips in, But I took it that. I seem to remember reading about people sometimes, in real privation, putting lard on bread, We used to put what was it, that spreading stuff? Wouldn't it, honey? Or something you used to put in your tea, I can't mind. And where this also got to, I'm sorry, I'm stuck at the very first thing about the methodology. I also felt that, because at that time in this society there's a whole business of, there was the ID cards also going on, you know. But for some reason it kicked into me, this obsession with methodology and classification. And that was what was wrong with peace, there was no methodology. And just as I was translating, I mean, sorry, I'm speaking away from the text and from the translations. I'm just recalling my mind at the time, I think. And it was this perception, I think it was Brecht I was getting from the text, that methodology and war and control were all the same thing. So, which would be part of the politics. That if you have system and method, you have control. And the trouble with peace is there's no methodology. Now I was using that as, that was coming out in the language as being a kind of almost absurd thing to say, you know, it's like a Colonel blaming it, no system, no law, no methodology. But in fact what that would actually be saying is, quite seriously, the trouble with peace is you don't know what people are doing and that people are free, or something like that. But again, you know, I don't know to what extent from that people didn't even have ideas. I think I put that in, you know, because it was in sometimes in paralleling the idiomatic. The idiom introduced would be from a parallel social situation or something, or a parallel, I think, and that's quite a dangerous thing to say, you know, because it would be, you could end up playing fast and loose with the translation as the phrase is, and I certainly wasn't doing that, never, ever, ever wanted to do that, you know. Like when I say they weren't even in a national filing system, I think that was in the air, as it were, as it is in the air in this fucking country just now, you know. And of course, I was sensing that this is a play about the present as much as the past. But the present in terms of things like that, not the present in, I think there's distortions can go on about what the play is used for, what any play, they talk about bringing it up to date, and what they mean is gutting the politics, and turning it into an identity bloody thing or something, you know. So when Mother Courage comes in, hold your wheest there, stop your drum, it's Mother Courage this way, come. Now, with all the songs, they were the ones that I let's say spent the most time on, but those were the ones where every word of the original German text was like put on a grid, as it were. I would translate them literally. I would look at what all the translations did. I then, in fact, from there, work out solutions that would sometimes go through the form of the poetry, or that's where the poetry, and it's one thing also, we talk about modern presentations. I've actually turned down the opportunities twice to have this play performed, although I'm still desperate to have it performed. I just don't have the health or anything now, but I'd love to be able to produce it myself and have as backdrops the political posters that I've had in my journal between 2009 and 2014, which would have been very appropriate, I think, projected onto screens as the thing was going on. I mean, the last time somebody wanted to do it, it was we were open and honest with each other. It wasn't some nasty person trying to have one over me or the play or something. But they wanted a youth presentation of it in the open air. They said a lot of them are musicians. I thought, well, no bloody way, because with that translation anyway, I think that another thing that this play is subject to is bloody electronic music, which, so it's almost been judged as how good the music is in it. And the one thing about the music productions of it now is you can't hear the bloody words. And my idea of the production of this play, in which I spent one hell of a long time on the words and getting them syllabically, what's the word, conjugate, syllabically equal to the syllables in I'd 3 or 4 of the songs on a CD with Paul Desslau music, and that was one of the ways, in fact, that I worked out my own translation was according to that syllabic count. But my idea of these being performed, if I was producing the play myself, would be the words would be spoken very clearly, and there would be a drum tap, and that would be the songs. Or somebody else might do it as a kind of Sprechstimme thing or something, but there certainly wouldn't be any modern rock bloody version of it or something. That's just a piece of damn nonsense, which I think goes with this, with this sort of kind of mother courage, that, as I say, the heroic woman against the pity of war. There can be a dimension of her as being a heroic, although, for goodness sake, the play itself undermines that. And like, when she says, yeah, I'm called Courage because I ran through the, whether it was the gunfire with my mouldy breath, or had to get it to them before the mould showed or something, anyway.